Hey guys, I'm gonna do a reading today on Eugenia Cooney. I've just been spiraling about her for the past few hours. I tried to do a reading a second ago, but I lost the video, accidentally deleted it, so I'm gonna redo it. I made some notes to try and sum up what I had gotten in that video, so I'll be reading off of those as we go along, but I really just feel like I need to do a reading on this. This is alleged for its entertainment purposes only. Trigger warning for anyone who has dealt with eating disorders. Please don't watch. And I am in no way meaning any disrespect towards Eugenia. I feel like this is just something that I feel like I need to talk about. Let's look at the cards. So with the King of Disc here, I feel like the center of it all is like the abuse and the money. It's like her parents don't have boundaries with her. I'd say they almost act, well, first of all, her parents are both really unhealthy people, but it's like they act incestual, but not like sexually, but as you know how sometimes old world people or like really closed-minded people will think of their partners as like their property. It feels like that. Like this is how Eugenia's family thinks about their children, is like property, or like I control you. And I do think that her mom has, for a long time dictated what she wears, what she can eat, when she can leave the room, and stuff like that, when she can leave the house. So that's really pretty much forced her to be codependent on her parents, which is why, she's still willingly in the situation, even though she's an adult now. And I really feel like her parents, they do have a second source of income, but they luxuriate in the money they get from Eugenia. That is why they encourage her to do that, so they can give her money. I feel like they can become particularly a bully to her when it comes to money it's like they don't want to have to even her question it. They just want her to give them the money. It's like almost payback for all the years that they took care of her. They do see her as a burden. I do think that when it comes to a sense of familial love and nurturement for their child, these two parents just don't feel that way. I feel like they feel guilty that other people are looking in and seeing their fucked up family dynamic and seeing what they've done to their child. But I do also feel like it's just a self-centered way. They don't actually think that like they should get Eugenia help. I feel like at this point they've gotten the money that they wanted out of Eugenia. Even if she kept streaming now, it's like she's done enough to where they've already gotten the money they want out of her, and they don't really need her anymore. But they are greedy, so they don't mind her sticking around and giving them more money. But it's just like, I said this before in the reading I tried to do earlier, but it really feels like her mom, I don't know about her dad because his energy isn't as apparent here. He doesn't care as much. But her mom in particular thinks back to when Eugenia was still a child and she was normal, like when it came to food and stuff like that. Even though she wasn't a completely normal kid, she was experiencing abuse all the time. But like, she hadn't developed an eating disorder yet. Her mother liked her more then, because sometimes when she looks at her now, she's like, she thinks Eugenia's really ugly. It's like she'll sit there and she'll rationalize it in her head that people fetishize Eugenia's illness and her skinniness, and that's how they make money. And if that's how it is, then that's just how it is. And I know that Eugenia knows that that's how it is too, because she does deliberately act in ways where you can tell that she knows that people fetishize her and that she can make more money off of it. But I feel like her mother sometimes looks at her now and sees like she's just disgusted by her. She wants her little girl back, I guess you could say, especially now that Eugenia is more awake to the manipulation and abuse, and it's become more of a ordinary thing. It's like, her mother actually thinks the abuse used to be more fun, but now that she knows better, and it's become just sort of like, what's the word, mundane. It's become almost a mundane back and forth when, like, because Eugenia doesn't even really fight it anymore. She just does what she has to do. And it's like, it's become normal at this point in the family. And it's super weird, like, the stuff that goes on that is just treated as normal there. It's like they've all got really skewed views of what healthy life and what healthy behavior looks like towards themselves or to other people. And especially surrounding money, I feel like they know how to be financially stable, as in like not spend everything at once, but they're greedy. Like they never stop wanting more. And the problem with Eugenia's situation is she's profiting off of her darkness. Like, she was experiencing abuse as a child from her parents, and because she couldn't get out of that situation, she didn't have a choice to get out of that situation. She didn't know, anything to do. Her body developed an eating disorder, her mental illness. And that was a reaction to that abuse. And, I feel like her family was mad at her at first because they sort of blamed her and were like, what's wrong with you? Why are you acting this way for attention? But then, Eugenia started doing streaming and stuff, and it's like they realized that she could make a lot of money off of that. And it's like they're more fine with her dying and then making money than they are like with anything else. It's like, I don't know if I already said this, but her mom doesn't really care if she dies. I had pulled the death card earlier when I asked if her mom cares if she lives. And it's like her mom, it's like the attitude where it's like, she's surprised Eugenia's still even alive. It's like she expected her to be dead already. It's like, I've already got what I've wanted out of you. I've already got the money out of you. And circling back to how she like wants her little girl back again, and she doesn't really like Eugenia as much now that she isn't normal, now that she's so fucked up over her mental issues. And I don't know, it's like she just wishes Eugenia would just die at this point. She's like, why are you still alive? Why won't you just die? And then that's really fucked up to say. I feel like she even feels guilty about it sometimes. Like, but I really don't think she cares about anything more than the money at this point. She just, I don't know. It's hard to explain because the energy is so muddy with this family. It's like there's no boundaries. And I feel like her mother sees Eugenia as her younger self. Like, I feel like her mother taught Eugenia to think that, like, if you're young and you're pretty, then you need to have an eating disorder, because if you're not skinny, you're not going to be pretty, and nobody's going to want you, nobody's going to care about you. I also feel like Eugenia really needed the attention that she gets from people online. She needs that attention because she doesn't have anyone at home. She doesn't have a safe space at home, and she can't truly express herself. So the attention she gets is sort of like therapeutic for her, but not all the time, because she doesn't like having negative attention. She gets a lot of negative attention, but it just like, I don't know. It's just messed up because she believes this is what she's doing is right now. With the Hierophant here, she really believes that what she's doing is right and that what she's doing is normal. I know she was in recovery for a year or so and she was doing pretty good, but it's like she just keeps coming back to the same cycle, and I feel like it has a lot to do with her parents are really codependent her. Her parents might even be energy vampires. But it's just like she keeps coming back to that. And these two little things worshiping at this little thing, they literally look skeletal. Like they look skin and bones. And that's her. Like she can't stop answering to her parents because like she's keeping that cycle of abuse going. Like when she had that eating disorder and she had that abuse start as a child, when she's receiving money and she's receiving this attention because of her eating disorder, that's continuing that cycle within her. Like when she's sitting there telling herself that like, you know, she looks better because she's skin and bones, and that it's a comforting thought to her that she's so deathly skinny. It's like she's constantly reinstating that cycle of abuse within her. And then when she's like wearing this stuff so that she can get more money from, you know, the people who fetishize her, which are her like top donators, and she knows that's how she makes the most money. She knows she has to pretty much fetishize her darkness, fetishize the abuse she went through, fetishize the self-harm she is currently doing to herself, and she's made that normal. Like she's made it normal to profit off of and make money out of her darkness. And what's messed up about that is when you make money over something, you're expanding it. You're putting it out there and giving it to people. And what she's selling is basically a message to sexualize your darkness, like stay in the cycle of self-harm, deliberately self-harm yourself and be in denial about it, glamorize your self-harm, glamorize the abuse you've been through and the results and the consequences of the abuse you've been through. And I do recognize that part of it is that she's still living with her abusers, and those are the people who normalized that those behaviors within her, and those are the people who are keeping her chained to that sort of mentality. But it's like it's gotten to the point where she has started to be willing towards it, where she started trying to like make the best of the situation and like even convince herself that she likes this, she wants this, even though it's really obvious to everyone watching her that she's not okay. She thinks she's put together, she thinks she's doing okay. She sits there, she has a very like positive go-getter attitude, like we're doing this, we're okay, and she thinks that she's convincing people with that, but it's like she so easily breaks down. Her mental stability can just come crashing down at such a small thing, and the only thing she really has is the chat. The only thing she really has is the people, if that makes sense. Hi, Carlos. She only has people online, and the problem is the people that when she goes online to search for that, everyone's been knowing her only because of the eating disorder. And so it's like she keeps coming back to her only safe space only to like be showing off her eating disorder and bringing up the cycles of abuse with her and again. Like it's like over and over again she's challenged every day with the karmic cycle of, are you going to change this? Are you going to keep glamorizing this? Are you going to keep teaching people that this is okay, that self-harm and glamorizing your self-harm is okay? And I don't know, she just, partly it's family, part of it's the money. She really does like the money, she likes the luxury, and she's lived in abuse for so long that she's just like, it's okay, it's not always fun, but I've learned to live with it. And you know, you see videos of her and she lives in such a nice house, she's got all these fancy things, and it's probably easy in that setting to just forget about how fucked up it all is. But I don't know, I feel like she knows deep down in her heart that it makes her sick. Like it's almost an addiction at this point, the fans, the online attention, the abuse, the self-harm, it's all just one amalgamation of like a rush of hurt and adrenaline from hurting oneself. And I don't know, it's like it's all muddy for her because again, there's no boundaries that she was learned from her parents. So she has no boundaries between her healthiness and her unhealthiness. She has no boundaries between her happiness and her unhappiness. So I feel like she emotionally knows in her heart that she is profiting off of darkness, that she is sharing the message to other people, that they should profit off of their own darkness, and that they should spread darkness out to other people and teach that to children. But it's like sometimes she's happy with it, sometimes she feels completely sick with it. It's like, again, there's no boundaries, so it's all muddy. She keeps going back in cycles of like, this is what I want, this is who I truly am, I feel like I'm expressing my truest self. And then moments where she feels like I'm in some fucked up nightmare, I've been in some weird ass shit since I was a kid. It was just yesterday where I was just being a kid and being normal and playing, and all of a sudden I'm just doing streams every day, all day for years. And I don't know. It's crazy because her ED is literally the center of it all. Her family knows it too, and they instigate her, they encourage her ED. But it's the darkness. Her ED is literally the darkness. And she's profiting off of that darkness. She's sharing that darkness with other people. She's glamorizing it, letting people fetishize her of it. And it's like, I don't know. It's just feeding the darkness. I don't know how else to explain it. It just bothers me because it's like you're profiting off of that. You're profiting off of feeding the darkness and feeding that hurt within yourself. You're literally not only deliberately choosing to continue that cycle of abuse within yourself, but you're forcing that onto other people by sending that message out and representing that. And I don't know. It's like she realizes what she's doing, but she's so muddied up in it that she also doesn't realize the depth of how bad it is. The fact that she just attracts bad seeds like magnets. She attracts all these creepers and pedos and all these weird ass people because she's literally selling darkness. She's selling the abuse. She's selling the victimhood. She's selling the karma. And the unchanging of the karma is going to bring a lot of energy vampires over in her place. And that's why I feel like the scandal is going to come back up for her, where she was letting pedophiles act as Discord mods, and she was just brushing off the victims who had come to her complaining. And that might have to do with sexual abuse or just the incestuous boundaries she's experienced with her parents. But I don't know, man. It's like she's teaching that to other people. It's like really, really dark stuff. It's like she has a really happy-go-lucky, positive vibe, but it's really, really, really dark. And you don't even have to read between the lines to see that. It's like creepy. And she's had multiple attempts of other people trying to help her get out of it. She's had friends who've tried to help her get it with the world here. People have literally tried and given their everything. They've given their all into helping her, and they ended up getting pushed away by her. Her family did also manipulate these situations, but I feel like ultimately it came down to Eugenia's choice, and she chose to push away the people who were helping her because she's scared to get out of her comfort zone, which is this cycle of abuse she's been stuck in all through her childhood, teenage years, and now through early adulthood. And now that she's making money off of it, it's becoming an intrinsic part of her. That's her business now. And as she's growing out of young adulthood and into older adulthood, like that's becoming an intrinsic part of who she is, to the point where she won't ever be able to separate herself from that. Let's see. I've read off of all my notes, so let's just see what else Spirit wants to say here. anything that come out spirit about Eugenia Cooney and the current situation. Just, I feel really passionate about this. Like, I feel like this is something that really needs just light and clarity, because there's a lot of darkness here. Seven of Pentacles. This has been going on for such a long time. Like, I know I'm not the only one who's seen Eugenia over the years and been like, how is she still alive? Like, it's crazy how long this has been going on, and it's a cycle of abuse, it's a cycle of darkness, and not only does it have to do with her childhood and her childhood trauma, it has to do with her parents' childhood and her parents' childhood trauma, and they are continuing that cycle in her, and she's continuing that cycle in herself. She's definitely never going to have children, because her reproductive organs, I don't even know how they would survive that. But even if she doesn't have children, anyone who's watching her, any young impressionable person watching her, is going to see how she glamorizes that. And it's up to each person to have their own discernment about what's okay and what's not okay. But there's going to be naive people watching her and seeing her. There's going to be people who have known her since childhood, idolizing her, and seeing her be like, yep, I'm completely okay. This type of behavior is normal. You don't have anything to worry about. It's just you're teaching people that. You're teaching people to tell themselves that they're not allowed to express pain or anger. They're supposed to just act like everything's okay, even when it's clearly, very visibly, and tangibly not. It's like you're selling a lie. You're selling a lie that you've been telling yourself your whole life, just to cope with the abuse that you've been through. But by selling this lie, you're not helping anybody else cope, and not even yourself. You're making it worse for yourself, rooting the darkness deeper within yourself, and then also sharing it with other people. It's like she gets her comfort from having her little online fans and being able to talk to them, but she doesn't realize she gets all her darkness from that source. And so that, like, she can't have that as an actual comfort space. It's like sometimes she feels like it's a comfort space, and other times she feels like everyone on the internet is out to get her and harass her, and she just feels like she's completely cursed. But it's because it's all misdirection of her own denial of her own abuse that she's experiencing from herself, from her family. Like, really, when she's on the internet, like, crying and like giving into the harassment and reading all the hate comments, it's just her own devil side showing up. It's her own darkness showing up, her wanting to like poke at the wound, if that makes sense, because she doesn't want to change it. She doesn't want to fix it. She feels like she has to defend herself. And what's fucked up is she feels like she has to defend herself over people who are only trying to help her. Like, people will be on her page genuinely scared for her, genuinely like trying to send a message and be like, I'm genuinely worried about you and I care about you and I want you to get better. It could even be her close friends that she's had in the past who have tried to be like there for her and help her get better. And she's pushed them away. She's felt the need to be defensive to them. And it's because she sees abuse as healthy, she sees unhealthiness as healthy, and she sees healthiness, which is at this point just desperately trying to get her help, as unhealthy. And so she tries to fight against unhealthiness. She tries to fight feeling whole and complete within herself. She thinks it's normal to feel incomplete, to feel sick, to feel unhealthy, to feel not okay. She thinks that's normal. And she feels like she has to defend that within herself. So that's why she'll just sit there and be like defending the weirdest little things. Like, it all has to do with her own sense of incompleteness within herself. Two of Swords. Sometimes she hates her family, and then other times she feels completely codependent on them. Like, she doesn't know what she'd do without them. And I feel like she knows that her family doesn't actually care about her beyond the money, but it's like she needs them. She's only ever had their abuse. She's only ever experienced their sort of love, which is an unhealthy and abusive love, but it's all she's ever known. But at the same time, sometimes she gets really fucking angry, and when somebody's constantly controlling your life like that, even though you're a fucking 26-year-old woman, you're gonna get angry. You're gonna get fucking pent up. And it's like she doesn't understand why she does it, why she has so much anger within herself. She doesn't understand why she can't control herself when her parents trigger her or when her brother triggers her. But it's like her inner child is screaming for help. It's literally screaming for help. And she's just distracted. She's looking everywhere but within. And even when she does look within, she tries to rationalize it. But with emotions. She's like, "Oh, it's fine. Like it's fine. It's not even actually a big deal. Like that's just how it is." When she tried to get help, when she tried to get recovery last year or a couple years ago, and she started in recovery, her family backlashed so hard. And her mom's a fucking weirdo, recording her in skimpy outfits and, give her own daughter, throwing her out to the fucking weird ass fetish people, fetishizing her fucking eating disorder, fetishizing her anorexia, fetishizing her self-harm. Her mother just throws her out to the wolves like that. And of course her mother would get all fucking backhanded and do some weird-ass blackmail shit as soon as she starts trying to move towards recovery. We have 3 of Swords here. So I don't think she's ever really going to move to recovery. Just the one time she did, not only did her family really hurt her and say something really mean or do something really mean, but she did not feel comfortable with it at all. She didn't like it at all. She didn't like recovering. She didn't feel hopeful. She didn't feel like anything was actually going to change. She really has the deep-rooted belief that unhealthiness is just normal and that she should just accept a life of self-harm and abuse. She's not a very logical person. She's not very smart. She thinks really mostly with her emotions, and because she's constantly trying to make a positive light of things, she just sends herself into a spiral of I don't feel okay, I don't feel happy, something feels wrong, but then trying to make light of the situation, trying to make light, so she'll pour her heart into making things seem they're okay, making things seem like all light and fun and happy, but then it'll just cycle back again, and she'll just get all angry or upset or overly emotional. And she gets upset because she doesn't feel like she can control herself, but she's mentally ill. She's mentally unstable. It's a cycle. And it stems from the abuse. It stems from the childhood trauma, and the eating disorder is literally a manifestation of that trauma. And she's, instead of healing and trying to get help, she's fetishizing it. She's glamorizing it within herself. She's profiting off of it, capitalizing off of it. And that is irreversibly harming her. I don't know how to explain this all, but I really hope that makes sense, because it just really felt like I needed to talk about that. When you make money, it's a balance, it's a flow, it's a give and take. And when it's dirty money like that, when it's coming from a source of darkness, you are going to be stuck in that darkness. You will never get away from that darkness. When you're making money off of light, when you're doing honest work, you're going to be stuck with that honesty. And that's not going to fucking hurt you any, because honesty never fucking hurt anyone. I mean, that's not true, but it's when honesty comes back on you, it's going to do more good than harm. But when this trauma comes back to you and you still haven't done anything to heal it or acknowledge it yet, it's going to do so much harm every single time it comes on you. And it's going to get exponentially worse each time you return to it. I don't even know how she hasn't committed suicide or something like that, bro. every time she goes to stream, every time she wakes up in the morning, it's like she gets worse and worse. It's like declining health to the max. And I don't know. But what I was trying to say is, like, when you make honest work, you know, you come back to that honesty and it's like, it's a work, it's a business. But when you are profiting off of that darkness and you're profiting off of self-harm and trauma, you are going to keep returning to that. You will never be able to get out of that. And she's putting herself in that position where she's stuck with that because she can only make money by showcasing her trauma and by glamorizing it and fetishizing it for other people to enjoy. It's such a state of lack. It's such a state where you feel like you have no other choice, where you feel like you're trapped even though you trapped yourself there. She literally trapped herself there. And it's this type of thing where you feel like you've got nothing. You've got absolutely nothing but this trauma. And no matter how much money you make, no matter how much you feel like you're profiting off of, you know, the money you're making through that, the darkness just irks you. It chips at you. I don't know how to explain it. And I don't know why the Two of Cups keeps popping out. Like, every time I look down at the fucking deck, Two of Cups is at the top for this reading. So there's somebody she has a mutual attraction with. Who is this mutual attraction? Who is this mutual attraction? So, oh my god. Okay. This is all alleged for entertainment purposes only, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it how I read it. She might have experienced sexual abuse as a child from the mother or father figure. Heavy on the father figure, but her mother is also a very masculine and controlling person here, so it could have been either of them or both. The abuse she's experienced with them and is still experiencing with them is something that has been cultivated for a long time and will still go on or still have residual effects into her future. I think the thing is that she's only learned love from her unhealthy parents. She's only learned approval and affection, and even her sexuality has been influenced by the abuse and trauma from her parents. So, even though her parents aren't deliberately sexually acting on her, the controlling relationship and the incestuous, unhealthy boundaries they have with her have caused her to act in a way where she goes online and she does stuff to fetishize herself for the creepy mods. It's like she almost likes them now because they have the same darkness as her parents do. But it's like these weird ass mods who like fetishize her situation and her self-harm. She almost feels like she almost feels like a camaraderie with them. She feels close to them. And it's like it's a outlet of her feelings towards her parents almost, because it's like her parents subconsciously project on her incest stuff, and I know they might have even sexually abused her themselves. I have seen her in a video mention being in a hotel room with her mother and then specifically be like, oh, it's not incestual at all, it's not weird to sleep with in the same bed a female member of your family, like really just trying to clarify it and being weird about it. So you never know, but I really do feel like she feels having that connection with the people who are paying her money for her eating disorder and showing that off is just like it gives her the affection she feels like she doesn't get from her parents, or it mimics the love that she thinks is okay that she learned from her parents in the first place. It mimics the same unhealthiness where like she's showcasing her trauma but she's acting like everything's normal and everything's fine. And that's how it was with her parents, but that's how it is with her moderators. And she almost develops an unhealthy relationship with these people who pay her money for her streams and for stuff like that because of her relationship and her trauma with her parents. Like, again, online is like her only safe space, but at the same time, it's like the space where she's been cultivating a romanticization of her trauma. So at the same time, it's completely not a safe space, and she doesn't realize she's triggering herself every time she goes on there. It's just unhealthy relationships all around, an unhealthy relationship with herself. The hermit here is saying that, like, recently she's been out of her comfort zone. Even though everything is the same as before, it doesn't feel like it's the same as it was. Like, everything's physically the same, but she's changed recently where she feels like, I don't know, she just isn't satisfied with things as the way she can't distract herself like she could before. It's like bothering her, especially recently. And she's not doing the work to look within herself at all. But it's like, I feel like emotionally she feels like exhausted. She feels like she's at her toll, or she doesn't get the same fire or passion out of her YouTube videos and her online presence as she once did, and she's confused and angry because she doesn't understand why not. She doesn't understand why she isn't getting as much pleasure out of it as she did last year, even though it's all the exact same setting, the exact same physical things happening. I don't know, man. There's just a lot of karmic cycles here. There's a lot of karmic cycles. There's a lot of childhood trauma and cycles of generational trauma and abuse that's being passed down. But I think my huge thing to say about this is, like, don't try to profit off of your darkness or your trauma. And I feel like the feminine energy and the mother energy in the situation is very skewed. There's no true divine feminine here, not from the mother, not from Eugenia. Neither of them have an actual source of nurturement, so there's just a lack of true feminine energy here. So everything is just stacked and built on top of each other, and nothing is smoothed out, nothing is cleaned out. And yeah, the energy is just so frantic. It's just keep going, keep going, keep going, no matter the cost. It doesn't matter if you don't like it, just keep it in a positive light. But yeah, I think we're coming to a close now. I'm going to get any last messages from Spirit that is needing to be said at this time. Any last messages? Yeah, the situation has a lot to do with karma. Anyone involved with Eugenia, any of her fans, have a lot of karma that has to do with her. Despite the horrifics of this being shown on the internet, I feel like this is going to have a huge effect on people in terms of a learning lesson. I feel like Eugenia's situation is meant to be a sort of manifestation of other people's situations so they can see it from a different perspective and realize the pain they're going through, or realize the own denial they're going through. This is in no way to say Eugenia's situation is okay or should keep happening. I'm just saying, because of the horrific nature and just how bad of a situation it is, I feel like it's almost become a sort of learning lesson as to what's not okay, where the denial comes from, where the darkness comes from, and how that pain can keep happening when you keep instigating that cycle like that. Queen of Wands here tells me that she might try for recovery later on. I really don't see it actually happening, but there is people here who, even if she dies, it feels like there's people working behind the scenes trying to help her right now. Even if she dies, there's people who are trying to, like, just spread the message of good and try and, like, see the logic in the situation and see, like, how this is what was fucked up about the family, and this is how Eugenia got that trauma, and this is why she kept going back to that all these years. Like, it feels like there's people who make actual videos about this who speak the truth, and that feels like there's a lot of people genuinely trying to come out and talk about very deep situations and trying to really just get the truth out and talk about the darkness of the situation, just to sort of shed light on what happened and what's happening. Like, despite how dark the situation is, there's a lot of goodness coming out of it, simply out of people feeling so sorry for the situation, feeling so scared for her, feeling how messed up it is, and people feeling the need to shed light on that and transmute it into something better, and to really just show the truth of it, especially with the King of Swords. Just be logical about it instead of being all emotional about the situation, but just listing out the facts of how this happened and why exactly it was bad, and why it is a omen for people in the future and things to come of what exactly not to do, how to do it wrong. This is how to do it wrong. But yeah, really the huge issue is her inner child is completely damaged, completely being ignored, and it's just on display for everyone to see, her inner child constantly being abused. And that's really the karma here. For anyone who interacts with her, is their own reaction of their family abuse, their own reaction of their inner child trauma. So just remember that. The situation really isn't going to change with the Ten of Wands here. The situation isn't going to change. There's just a lot of stress. There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of problems, especially with inner child trauma and karma and everything like that. So no matter how much anybody is emotional about the situation or speaks emotional truths about the situation, isn't really going to change. But shedding light on the situation does help with keeping yourself aligned and spreading a message that message isn't okay, that Eugenia's message isn't okay. It's like, when people are out there spreading the message to profit off of darkness, to profit off of that messed up bullshit, it is important to send a message back and be like, no, fuck you, that's not okay. It's not necessarily everyone's responsibility, but I do see that a lot of people will feel that it's important to talk about that with the Queen of Wands here, and to really just put their foot down and be like, this is wrong. This is the wrong way to be doing things. So, I don't know, man. But that's the reading. Eugenia, if you're watching this, which you probably definitely aren't, but I really hope you get help. And man, yeah, I don't know. There's no real positive way to end on this, so bye.